Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, students. I am Shakil Ahmad, your history teacher, and today we are in chapter 3, the medieval world, rise and fall of the Roman Empire. And this is third part of this chapter. Topics we will cover in this chapter are Romans education, religion, the fall of the Western Roman Empire, and this video is for class 7 or O level students. So before I start, I request you all, please visit my website. You will find more material there about your levels class 7 and 6, and English, math and history, and please subscribe my channel. So let's start. The first topic, education. Romans were greatly impressed with the Greek system of system of education. So they were impressed by the system of education of Greeks. Educated Romans were bilingual. They could speak Greek and Latin. Someone who speaks two languages, can speak two languages, is called bilingual. So the Romans, they were bilingual because they could speak Greek and Latin. If we see part of the slide, formal schooling started at the age of 11 or 12, and young boys studied writing and counting and read the works of famous Greek Latin writers. So they were inspired, they were impressed with the Greek system of education, and the educated Romans, they could speak two languages, Greek and Latin, and that's why they are called bilingual, because they could speak two languages. And the schooling was started from the age of 11 or 12, and the young boys of age of 11 and 12, they were studying how to writing and counting, the famous Roman counting. They were able to write and counting, and they were reading the famous Greek and Latin texts. Their writers accounts, they were reading their Greek and Latin writers accounts. And if we see the D part of this slide, oratory, the art of speaking, public speaking, someone who is able to speak in public, that is called oratory. So oratory was also taught at all schools. So in this slide, we have read 4 points, and if I summarize them, Romans were impressed by the Greek system of education, and the educated Romans were bilingual. They were able to speak two languages, Greek and Latin, and their schooling was started. They were starting their schooling at the age of 11 or 12, and their boys were studying writing, how to write and counting, and read the works of famous Greek and Latin writers. And they were also taught oratory, the art of public speaking, how to speak in public. This art was also taught in the all schools, at the all schools. Okay, that's all from this slide. Now moving to the next slide. Religion. How was the religion of Romans? And now we will learn about them. A Roman Empire was a polytheistic civilization. What is meaning of polytheistic? Polytheistic means those who believe in many gods or goddesses. So they were polytheistic. They were believing in many gods and goddesses. And you must have listened the word monotheistic. Monotheists. Monotheist means those people who believe in one God. Like Muslims, we all believe in one God. We are monotheists. And the other word you must have listened, atheist. Atheist, those who believe in no God. They don't believe in any gods. So those are called atheist. But we are talking about Roman Empire, and Roman Empire was a polytheistic empire. They were believing in many gods and goddesses. Juno, Jupiter, and Minerva were their main gods. Juno, Jupiter, and Minerva. These were their main gods. Juno was the queen of gods, and Jupiter was the king of gods, and Minerva, she was the goddess of wisdom. Juno was the goddess, was the queen of all gods. Jupiter was the king of all gods, and Minerva was the queen of wisdom. You must have listened these names. The Gregorian calendar or solar calendar. Now we know the months of the Gregorian calendar, like January, February, March, April. All these names are taken from their gods and goddesses and their uh, rulers, because their rulers were also uh, claimed that they are the gods, and they were asking their people for worship. Like if I say from Juno, you must have listened the month of June is taken. And from Mars was their god of wars. Mars was their god of wars, and from Mars they have taken the month of March. And from the Octavian Augustus, their ruler, we learned about the Octavian Augustus in my last video. From Augustus, they have taken the month of August. This is how they have taken these names of months from different festivals, their gods and goddesses, their rulers. Okay, but their main gods were Juno, the queen of gods, Jupiter, the king of gods, Minerva, the queen of the queen of wisdom. Okay, these were their main gods. Roman emperors claimed themselves to be gods and asked people to worship them. Their rulers were claiming that they are gods, and they were asking their people to worship them. Okay, now moving to the C point. During this time, Christianity emerged in the Middle East following the birth of Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, and many people followed this Christianity, and Rome, and Christianity spread all over the Rome. This is how Christianity spread after the birth of Jesus Christ. Hazrat Isa alayhi salam is called Jesus Christ, and after the birth of Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, Jesus Christ, Christianity spread all over the Rome. If we see D part of this slide, in D part, you can see Constantine 1. Constantine 1. ruled 306 to 337 CE, converted to Christianity. He gave Christianity a legal status, granted lands to the clergy, and built churches. Okay, now the ruler of Rome, whose name was Constantine I, he converted and became Christian, and his ruling timeline was from 306 to 337, and he gave lands to clergy means group of you can say body of saints, priests or ministers, the body who was a body of Christians. He was giving lands to them, and he also built churches. So this was the D point of this slide. Now moving to the last point of this slide. The last point of the slide is he moved capital to city of Byzantium, then renamed it Constantinople. Constantinople, the renamed name of Byzantium. It was later known as Byzantine. Okay. From this point, we understood that after uh, giving status to Christianity and lands to clergy and built churches, Constantine moved capital to Byzantium and then renamed it as a Constantinople. And later, Constantinople was known as Byzantium. If I again summarize this slide, I can say that the Roman Empire was a polytheistic civilization, and their main gods were Juno, Jupiter, and Minerva. And Roman emperors, they were also claiming that they are the gods and asking people to worship them. And during this time, after the birth of Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, Christianity Christianity appeared, and people followed Christianity. And then, when there was a ruler, Constantine I, in 306 to 337, he ruled. This was the timeline of Constantine. He became Christian and gave legal status to Christianity. He gave land to clergy. I told you clergy means the body of priests, body of ministers, body of priests, body of saints. That body is called clergy. So he gave lands to clergy and built churches. He also moved the capital from Rome to the Byzantium. Then he renamed it the Constantinople. Later, this Constantinople was known as Byzantine. I hope the points of these slides are clear now. Now moving to the next slide, and okay, the fall of the Western Roman Empire. So there are the reasons why the Roman Empire fall. What were reasons of decline of Roman Empire? There are 7 reasons are jot down on this slide. So the first reason was the government became corrupt and powerful. A power struggle started. Due to the weakness of the government, a power struggle was started. When a government becomes weaker, a power struggle is started. People start to get power, to come in power. So that was started due to the weakness of the government. Corrupt There was a corruption. That's why the power struggle was started. The decision of Constantine to move the capital to Constantinople weakened the empire. This was the second reason that he moved capital from Rome to Constantinople. That's why that the empire became weak. And third, the Church of Rome gained unlimited power more than the emperors. So, the influence of church was too much on the people, and people were paying to the church, not even paying the taxes. So that's why the influence and the power of the church uh, uh, gained more, and emperors were feeling threatened, and their power was reduced. The army became weak, ultimately weakening the empire internally and externally. The army, their legions, they were weak at that time, and that's why they were not able to fight to deal with internal and external threats. They were not dealing with the external and internal threats. Why? Because army became weak. Heavy taxes made the lives of common people miserable, which led chaos in the empire. There was heavy taxes on the people of Rome, and that's why their lives were miserable, and this led to the unrest and trouble in the empire. Chaos. Provinces rebelled against the government and declared their independence. The provinces of the empire, they declared themselves independent, and they were not giving taxes to the government. So that's why government became weaker, and they rebelled against the empire and they became independent. This was the sixth reason. And what was the seventh reason? Barbarians and Hans from Central Asia attacked and destroyed much of the empire. The external forces, the external powers, they attacked on Roman Empire, like barbarians, outsiders, and Hans they were from Central Asia, and they attacked on Rome and destroyed much of the Roman Empire. So, if I sum up this slide, the government of the Roman Empire was corrupt, and that's why there was a power struggle. And the decision which made by Constantine to move capital from Rome to Byzantine, that decision made the empire weaker and weakened the empire. And the popes and the Philips and the churches, they gained unlimited power because they had great influence on the people. People were following them, they were accepting, they were following all the instructions given by the churches. That's why the emperors became weak, and they had less power than the churches. The army became weak, and that's why when army became weak, the internal and external powers take over on the Rome. Heavy taxes, they imposed heavy taxes on the common people. That's why common people were feeling trouble. They were living a miserable life, and this led to the chaos, unrest. trouble in the empire. And provinces, when they saw the government is weak, they rebelled against them and declared themselves independent. And when there was this scenario, and the government was weak and provinces were independent, this was the advantage for the barbarians and Hans, and they attacked on Roman Empire and destroyed it. So that's all from today's lesson. You can visit my website for question and answer related to this topic. I have put there question and answer related to this topic. Now, thank you and Allah Hafiz.